Rainy, Rainy, come here. Come here. Rainy, come here. Why don't you love me? Come here. Okay, fine. He won't come in here now. Maybe he'll come in here a little bit later during the video. We'll see. Okay, so, you saw the title, you saw the thumbnail. I'm going to be talking about some comparisons between, Tuxedo Mask from Sailor Moon and Moon Knight from Marvel. Yeah. So obviously Moon Knight was, premiered on Disney Plus, a little while ago, and I watched through it with my mom. Now, I was not super familiar with the character of Moon Knight before going into the show. I think I'd heard about him before. I wasn't like, oh my god, I know exactly who this character is, and I've been, waiting forever for, Marvel, for him to be in the cinematic universe or anything like that. I just maybe had heard the name of the character and I hadn't made any connection to it. And then, one of the other YouTube channels that I watched did some different fact videos and stuff like that about Moon Knight. So that's where I learned that he has, the multiple, the dissociative identity disorder, and some of the interesting things in regards to his connection to the Egyptian gods and just, kind of the way that he works. Things like that were kind of interesting. Now I will admit, in regards to the dissociative identity disorder, I have had some firsthand experience with this. Not myself, I don't have it, but I dated a guy who has it. We are no longer together for various reasons, and I did get to know a fair number of his, different identities. He had several of them. Some of them I liked, some of them I did not like, and that's about as close as we're going to get to discussing that topic. So I have some familiarity with being around someone who has this, the dissociative identity disorder, or multiple personality disorder, as it was called in the past as well. And I watch the behind the scenes thing for, the making of Moon Knight and everything. So we get a little bit more into, how this character was developed in the comics, and then, how they, did it with the, Oscar Isaac as, the actor who did an amazing job, as, Stephen Grant, as, Mark Spector, as Moon Knight, as Mr. Knight, as, Jake Locke down the line and everything. And so I very much enjoyed what they did with that. Now, I am coming at this from the perspective of someone who is much more familiar with Tuxedo Mask, with, Darian Shield, as he is called in the original English dub, Mamoru Chiba in the, actual Japanese, Prince Endymion in regards to his past life as, the Prince of Earth, Tuxedo Mask, of course, as his, main hero name, and he's also, for a stint in the anime, he is also the Moonlight Knight, which I will go over. And then, of course, finally, his last kind of, persona that he has is, of course, King Endymion later on in the Crystal Tokyo. So, he has this whole range of things in regards to that. And I will be kind of doing the comparisons, obviously. Now, when it comes to Moon Knight, obviously, there's a lot more. It's taken with a much more serious tone and everything like that he's gone through with the way that the different identities get along with each other. And in regards to, with Mark Spector and, with Stephen Grant in regards to Moon Knight, they're very much at odds with each other throughout a good portion of the series, in the live action series that they did for Disney Plus. And then also in the comics, at times there's different interactions with the different characters, of course. And then in regards to, of course, with Tuxedo Mask, eventually it is just basically, he is just, one, he has a whole mind inside of his body. He's not, fragmented the way that, Moon Knight is. So I was going to go over a little bit in regards to just kind of the basic things in regards to Tuxedo Mask. And yes, sometime down the line, I will end up doing a, more Sailor Moon discussion videos where I actually discuss the actual characters. But I was discussing Moon Knight with my mom, and this popped into my head because I was pointing out the fact of, well, when Moon Knight was announced and everything like that, a lot of people were, making the jokes and comparisons with, with Sailor Moon and everything like that. There's several memes that went around. There's remember that time Tuxedo Mask had an identity crisis in Sailor Moon? Can't believe Disney decided to make a show about it. There's this funny one. And then there's just like another one that is just like, a joke on the fact that, of course, in Sailor Moon, whenever, the Sailor Scouts transform, there's, like the ribbons and everything that flow off of their costumes, as they're transforming and everything. And then, of course, in Moon Knight, when either, Mark or Steven transform into either Mr. Knight or, Moon Knight, like the ribbons, they're not ribbons, but they're, wrapping bandages, like cloth types of things. That are, of course, reminiscent of, like, cloth and, wrappings and everything like that they would use for mummies. And such like that would be more like Egyptian style cloth, coming out and forming around them. And it's like, look, everyone, I know everyone knows everyone knows I love Moon Knight, but I cannot unsee Sailor Moon Knight. And like, there's been several different, like, fan art things that people have done of Sailor Moon with like Moon Knight highlights, or Moon Knight like transforming kind of the way that Sailor Moon does, or different things like that. And I mean, like, it's fine for parodying and everything, and it's just funny. But I did want to point those out because they were very funny, and I just think that those memes are funny. Nerd crossover, yay! But in regards to Tuxedo Mask, as I said, he has Darien Shield, Mamoru Chiba, Prince Endymion, Tuxedo Mask, Moonlight Knight, mostly only in the anime, but I will go over that, and then King Endymion. Those are all the different titles that he goes throughout the course of, the series. This will not be including the various times that he has also been kidnapped and brainwashed. Yeah, this list will not include those because there's like 3 of them. One by Beryl, one by Queen Helenia, and then there's one by Galaxia. So it's just like, yeah, there's multiple times where he's like kidnapped and brainwashed, and then like, Serena's, Sailor Moon is the one that has to save him, which I love. But I'm like, oh, good God, man, work on your mental defenses. So in regards to like Tuxedo Masks, or, Mamoru's, I'm more used to referring to him as Darien, so I'll probably go back and forth between Darien and Mamoru and such, so I apologize. But when he was a child, he's an only child, and he had lived with his parents until his 6th birthday, when the 3 of them were in a very terrible car accident, killing both of his parents and leaving him with retrograde amnesia. We get a little bit more of this. It's explained a little bit more in Sailor Moon Crystal. I know that they go over it a little bit more there. It's not really delved into that much in the original anime. I know that at one point he has like a conversation with, in the anime, that he has like a conversation with Serena, where he explains that it was like, oh, I keep having this dream of this woman asking me to bring her the, the silver imperial crystal, bring her the rainbow crystals, as they had in the anime, in the original anime. And, she can maybe tell me who I am and everything. So, it's like, he's, has these, some information about how, some, different ideas of like who he really is and everything. And he just wants to know, which is fair enough. And, he ends up having retrograde amnesia, so he can't really remember anything about his life prior to the car accident. And we don't know too much about him. We just know that down the line, he grew up, and he was probably in foster care. We don't know anything about his parents. Maybe they had at least enough money that he was fine, and he could went to a decent school. And then, of course, by the time we meet him in the anime, and later on, he's supposed to be about 17 years old, if I remember correctly. and he's like, just starting college. And, through at some point in time, he starts having these mysterious dreams of this beautiful girl begging him to bring her the silver crystal and everything, and he believes that the silver crystal will she'll be able to help restore his memories. And in the manga, because there is some differentiation between the manga and the anime, in the manga, I do believe that he just adopts the persona of Tuxedo Mask in order to help him seek the crystal for himself. And then, of course, eventually, and of course, in the manga, it's, revealed to, Sailor Moon, to, Usagi, that, oh, I'm, Darien Shield, and they don't really have that much interaction in the manga before they find, he finds out that she's Sailor Moon and that and that he's Tuxedo Mask and everything. But they do. And then, in the anime, in the original anime, they do have it be that what happens with Tuxedo Mask in the anime is, of course, he is a bit more of like an alternate personality a little bit in the beginning when it comes to Darien, because Darien does have a little bit of the thing where it's just like he wakes up and he doesn't know what happened, and then one time when he actually gets a hold of one of the rainbow crystals after, they defeat the monster or whatever, and they get the rainbow crystal, and he ends up holding it, and it ends up actually kind of like he transforms back into Darien at the time that he's holding it. And this is when like the two, like merge together, where like Darien is now aware of the fact that he is Tuxedo Mask, and it's no longer this just, side thing that just pops up every now and then. Because I think in the anime, if I remember correctly, in the original anime, that it was played off on the fact that he transforms into Tuxedo Mask when Usagi transforms into Sailor Moon for the first time, and that part of the reason that this activates is because it's, of course, the part of him that is, eternally in love with Sailor Moon, the Prince Endymion part that is eternally in love with Princess Serenity, activating, and in order to protect the current incarnation of her. And, he's, throughout the course of the series, we see how protective he is of her, of, the way that Mamoru is of Usagi, and of course, the way the Tuxedo Mask is of Sailor Moon. And of course, in the flashbacks we get with the Silver Millennium, and when those, their memories of being the prince and the princess kind of come forward and everything, how protective he is of her. We also see how protective she is of him, of course. And he's, always ready to fight by her side and everything like that, to ensure her safety. Now, we do see quite a bit of this throughout the course of the series in and of itself, both in the anime and in the manga and in Crystal. With, of course, Crystal is more just like an OVA of the manga, but I think they expand a tiny bit here and there on some things. I haven't quite watched the Crystal one all the way through yet. But we see that. And some of the other things that, of course, we see happen is in the second season of the anime, there is the Doom Tree filler arc that they go into. And I happen to like the Doom Tree filler arc because we get to see a little bit of Serena getting to be Sailor Moon again, and she does have this moment where she's just like, once she gets her memories back of being Sailor Moon and she transforms again, and she's got like Luna and Artemis with her, she kind of wants to make the decision of don't wake up the others, don't wake up the other Sailor Scouts, just let them have like normal lives again, just let them keep their normal lives, and I'll just do this myself. And she just has that mentality first off when she gets her powers back. Doesn't last very long, because then of course the Sailor Scouts do end up getting to get their powers reawakened and everything, because Sailor Moon needs help, and of course they get their powers back and everything, and their memories back of being the Sailor Scouts and everything. And Darien is actually the one that does not get his memories back, and this is just in the anime. It's just this little mini arc that they did in the anime, and just to kind of, set the Sailor Scouts back up again and everything, and kind of actually, in all honesty, I actually like it mostly because we get to see Serena and Darian's or Usagi and Mamoru's relationship actually grow a bit more, because throughout that section of it, he just thinks that she's, meatball head, that like she's like raised friend, that, he doesn't really have any interest in. And she keeps trying to convince him that, no, you're Tuxedo Mask and Prince Endymion, and you're supposed to be in love with, like, Sailor Moon, with Princess, Serenity and everything, and that's who I am. And, he kind of gives her the looks of, okay, you're crazy, woman. But throughout that section of the anime, we do see them actually build a bit more of a relationship. We have to see them be around each other a bit more. And at one point, Serena ends up getting saved, or this, mysterious figure appears that is Moonlight Knight, instead of being Tuxedo Mask showing up to help her. And initially everybody's like, oh, well, the scouts and Serena are just like, oh, well, he has to be Darien. And then, because he like throws roses the way that Darien does, except that they're white roses instead of red roses, the way that Tuxedo Mask throws them. And everybody's just like, okay, did he get a costume change? And then the thing that kind of throws us for the loop is that when at some point in the series, or in this mini arc, Darien and Moonlight Knight are in the same place at the same time. Even like him looking, like Darien, like looking at Moonlight going like, the heck is that outfit type of thing. And so everybody's just like, so he's not Tuxedo Mask? But that doesn't make sense. And by the end of the little arc, Darien does get his memories back. There's this, great kind of, it's like the climax of the arc, of course, and everything that happens. And like he gets his memories back, and, all of that fun stuff happens where it's, him and Serena are, they are now together and everything. But Tuxedo Mask, or Moonlight Knight, is there, and he explains that, in like this little mini kind of dream sequence that like Serena has with him, he explains that I was the part of him that did remember, and I manifested in order to be able to protect you. Because I didn't have enough power to forcibly reawaken the memories, but I had enough power to like at least manifest myself when you were in trouble. And then he, he returns back into, he reveals the fact that he is Tuxedo Mask, pulls down his mask and everything, that he is Darien. And then, like, he goes back into Darien. And we never hear hide nor hair of, Moonlight Knight again. Admittedly, he's, like, anime only. But, it would have been nice to see him pop up again or something like that. Or, that was one of the things that I always had problems with Darien in the series, is that throughout the course of the series, I think he gets like one power up, and it's not even that major of a power up, because like, throughout the course of the series, we see, Serena gets all the different brooches and the different, scepters and everything, like the Sailor Scouts get more powerful. Darien doesn't. He just has more roses that he throws at people, although he is stated that he has healing abilities at times, because we see him use his healing abilities a few times on Rini, and I think on some of the other Sailor Scouts at times. But, it's not as like, okay, can he get like a power up now? Can he get like armor so he's not going to get, like one-shotted as many times as he does? But, and of course, in regards to, the plot of the story, it's supposed to be the girls that are the ones that, are doing actually the rescuing, but it would be at least nice to see him get a power up. But like, so throughout that time frame, we see these different aspects of his personality. And, it was just a very interesting comparison that I did kind of want to make, that he goes through some of these moments where it's like he does have kind of like memory lapses and everything like that, particularly throughout the beginning of the series and everything. And then, of course, he has like his past memories as being Prince Endymion and everything. And of course, by the time, by the time he is, King Endymion of, Crystal Tokyo next to Neo Queen Serenity and everything, that's, I guess, his power up there as he turns into King Endymion. I upgraded from a black suit tuxedo into a purple one, or a white one, depending on the anime, or the Crystal or the original anime. So I just like that. But in regards to the way that, of course, Moon Knight into that section, We, of course, have Stephen Grant / Mark Spector / Moon Knight / Mr. Knight / Jake Lockley. And then, of course, they have Khonshu rolling around in their head as well. Yeah. So, the way that it is portrayed in the anime, the way that it's portrayed in the Disney Plus series, and the way that it's kind of developed from the comics. In the comics, it was initially just, Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, and Jake Lockley were just different personas that the character would, use based on like what kind of information he needed to get a hold of. And then over the course of the comics, that developed into more of a, dissociative identity disorder. To the point where, Jake Lockley was kind of like the much more bloodthirsty version of it, where Mark Spector was much more the, yes, he is a mercenary and everything, but he's not going to go quite as far as like Jake Lockley is willing to go. And then, of course, Stephen Grant was much more the, the way that it's portrayed in the series is that he's a bit more of the intellectual side of things, more of the knowledgeable side in regards to how, Egyptian mythology tended to work. And the way that they set it up in the series on Disney Plus is that Mark Spector the way that it works is Mark Spector is the base personality. He is the original one. And throughout the course of the episodes, when we, kind of look through, Mark and Steven's memories, it is revealed that Mark had a brother, Randall, and one day they went kind of exploring in a cave, and it started to rain, unfortunately, and Randall ended up drowning in the cave and dying. And Mark's mother, then for like the rest of the time that she was alive, kept blaming Mark for what happened. You're the reason he died. You wanted him dead this whole time. You blah, 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 just like, abusive language on him again and again and again. And just like blaming him for something that clearly was not his fault and that he was very sorry for to begin with, and had no intention of doing. And one of the things that happens is at one point his mother, in order to, when she's about to start becoming abusive, Mark kind of just, the way that the mind works is that it developed a coping mechanism where this new personality formed Stephen Grant. And Stephen Grant was kind of based on this, like, kind of Indiana Jones-ish type action hero that Mark Spector really liked as a kid. And Stephen Grant ends up being this more innocent personality, still has like all this interest in Egyptian mythology and everything like that, but is much more like, is just a section that is removed from the trauma of Mark's mother, like does not know about what happened with their brother, does not know that their mother became abusive and everything, because throughout the course of the Stephen episodes, where Stephen is the one in control in the first 2 episodes, he keeps trying to call his mother, or he keeps calling his mother, and now the dog's barking. One moment. I apologize if you still hear him barking in the background. But of course, what happens in the first 2 episodes of Moon Knight is we kind of see the world through Steven's eyes, and we see these moments where like Mark is like bleeding through a little bit more here and there, and like weird things keep happening to him, and he keeps having weird visions, ending up in weird places that he's not supposed to be by any stretch of the imagination, and hallucinating. And he keeps trying, he keeps calling his mother and like leaving messages and everything like that. And this version of him, the Grant version, the Stephen Grant personality, seems to have a very good relationship with this fake mother. And we find out later on that their mother is actually dead, that she died recently, and that Mark just couldn't bring himself to tell this to Stephen. Yeah. Not fun. And Steve, Mark ends up being, he goes into the U.S. Marines. He's, this former U.S. Marine, becomes a mercenary and everything. And then he ends up making this pact with Khonshu, who is the Egyptian god of the moon, is the ways that he's portrayed in the series. Another connection to the moon there. Ha! Yes. Where he then takes on this persona of the Moon Knight, the avatar of the Moon Knight, that he is supposed to protect those who walk the night, that he is to deliver justice to those who have done wrong, is the way that he is portrayed. And, this is where he gets, like, the really cool suit and everything like that with, like, the cape and the cowl and, the fun weapons and everything. And at one point he marries Layla El Fowley. I apologize. I probably just butchered her last name. I apologize. Mark married her. And then he just kind of vanished off the map. And then that's where, Steven comes in. He has this whole other persona that he can have be it Steven. That is this much more timid persona. And when everything starts bleeding together for the two of them, Steven ends up creating the Mr. Knight persona, which is this much more, has like this nice suit that he wears. It's a bit more like James Bond type thing and everything. Looks like an Armani suit and stuff like that. That he wears instead. And he has this much more vast knowledge of like Egyptian mythology and like adores this stuff. And it's also, Steven is kind of like, has like a British accent, and then Marks has like this like Chicago accent. And then of course at the very tail end of the last episode, we find out that there is this third personality, Jake Lockley, which I'm pretty sure is going to end up getting explored a bit more in, if they do like a season 2 or like any other time that we see them. But we also, throughout the whole course of the time that Steven and Mark are around each other, going back and forth inside their own body, there's also Khonshu there. You have to do this, you have to do that. I need you to do this. You need to go and do that. You need to stop this evil god that's trying to kill everybody. That's not considered even in their scales. And, they don't get along very well at the beginning. They keep fighting and everything like that. And kind of the way that they interact mostly is like between mirror reflections with each other, where it's just like, the dominant one is in the body and then the one that's in the mirror is the suppressed one at the moment. And throughout like the first 2 episodes, it's Mark's usually the one that's in the mirror. And then after that, they kind of shift back and forth a little bit more here and there, depending on what's needed. And of course, during the not the last 2 episodes, but like the second to last 2 episodes, we actually have it where like they're kind of inside their own mind, and they actually end up, of course, getting to meet each other, where they're both, together at the same time. And this is where they come to terms with not just their own past, but also just like with each other and everything. And in the last episode, of course, they're fighting together extremely well. And also, at this point in time, like we already knew that like Mark loved Layla. That's why he married her, or why he's trying to protect her from Khonshu as well. We also see Steven kind of slowly falling for Layla as well, because she is very smart and everything, very capable, and just awesome all around. I love her, and I love her turning into I think it's the Scarlet Scarab or whatever it is that she turns into. She looks awesome. So, like, I would make the combination comparison of, like, she's kind of their Serena, because she actually ends up saving them, being one of the reasons that they get saved throughout the course of, near the last couple of episodes. She's kind of the reason that they're not dead anymore. So, we have that. So I like that comparison there. I wouldn't say that they're, it's like they might get along, Layla and Serena, Usagi might get along okay, but, I just wanted to throw that in there because that's just kind of fun. And they also have like really good power-up armor. I love Layla's Scarlet Scarab, whatever outfit it is that she has at the end. But throughout, what we see throughout the course of the series is Mark and Steven slowly, not becoming a whole person, not becoming, where they're like all the same memories and the same body and everything, and they're no longer a split personality. We don't see that. We see them still coming together. They're still not 100% connected, but they're much more along the lines of, we're doing this together or not at all. I don't need, Steven's like, I don't need protecting anymore. in regards to all this, you can't keep keeping these secrets from me. And Mark's like, I don't want to keep these secrets from you anymore because you're kind of like, they become like best friends, like brothers type of a thing. And then, of course, we do see, at the end of it, as I said, we do get to see Jake Lockley, and he is the one that actually is still like associated with Khonshu at this point in time, because Steven and Mark kind of, tried to cut their ties with Khonshu. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the if they do like a Moon Knight season 2. And as I said, Oscar Isaac did an amazing job, did like a spot-on job of playing this character, of playing Moon Knight. He was wonderful in the role, and I loved him in the series. That was so good. And I love him in Star Wars, too, but this was just great as well. It's just like this other thing that he's amazing in. And, I just, it's also just fun to think of, like, there's other fan art that people have done of, like, Sailor Moon, like, with Moon Knight, as I said, with, like, Moon Knight themed, like, her suit, obviously, but it's got, like, the Moon Knight bandages, or the Moon Knight wrappings, and, like, the cape and everything. Just like Google Sailor Moon and then Moon Knight. It's just funny because it's just like, oh god, these are so funny to look at, because there's like just other funny comic ones that people have done too that I really like. So that's what I have for that. I just kind of wanted to make that comparison because it was just something that I'm like, that's an interesting comparison there. I mean, it's not the exact same because obviously Tuxedo Mask does not have the dissociative identity disorder that Moon Knight has, but I just thought that it was like an interesting comparison there. Obviously, Moon Knight goes much darker, not that there aren't times where Sailor Moon doesn't go dark as well, but, Moon Knight is much darker in regards to how they show this trauma that the two of them are dealing with. Whereas Sailor Moon does have a bit more of the lighthearted moments in it, of course, in that regards, or it's not as serious of a take on it, but that wasn't what the author of Sailor Moon was going for. So I just wanted to make that comparison. I'm doing a comparison between different, this Marvel character and this other character from something else, since I did the Wanda and Regina video a little while ago too. So that's what I have. I thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you have a nice rest of your day. Bye. This might be my one chance to prove to myself that I'm not mad.